Turn in the card and pick up the phone. It's a first round NFL mock draft with trades coming right at you on a brand new episode of the IBT podcast. Let's get it going.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my MPC. Earn my stripes like I fix this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking, RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and this is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for both a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. The fantasy football world's, the NFL world's eyes are all locked on to Titletown, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and we'll certainly chat all about the NFL draft yet again tonight with our staff NFL mock draft. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, hanging out in the four-banger with quite the cast of characters, including a light ranch and big business son of a bitch, Eric Romoff. Eric, how's it hanging out there, man? Just roughly 2 hours of airtime on this particular channel in between now and the NFL draft.
Yeah, absolutely love that. The countdown clock is ticking louder. The vibes are high. We're in our very short window of springtime weather here in San Antonio, Texas. But if nothing else, the vibes are the highest. I'm rocking the Rainbow Bowl shirt today. Get over to Steve Lawson's profile. Pinned there in the description is the form to get signed up and get involved. Rainbow Bowl, one of my favorite charity events. You can get signed up right now.
Did you put it in the description? Because I did not put it in the description. I can put it in the description, but I was not.
It's in the description of Steve's Twitter profile, but I'm sure Seth will follow up and put it in the description of this very program here tonight.
Hey, look, everyone else has access now to the YouTube channel. I'm becoming a delegator. Just put a nice little emoji before it. That's all I ask. One of you guys can put it in there. Trying to be a little bit better of a boss in that way. Just, I'm a little too hands-on sometimes, but we will certainly promote Rainbow Bowl, and we'll certainly promote the guy who is the face behind Rainbow Bowl, the entertainment NFL betting pundit here at IBT, Boston's boy, Steve Lawson. Steve, what's going on today, man? How's the vibes out there in the New England area right now with over just about a week until the NFL draft, and how are things on the internet street with Rainbow Bowl ramping up?
Yeah, well, vibes are high here in New England because it was 70 degrees today, and that seasonal depression, that's a real thing because that sun comes out, and I feel like I could enter the Royal Rumble at number 1 and come out on top. And you know what? As far as Rainbow Bowl goes, things are going amazing. We're well over 100 signups already.
Wow.
This early in the season. We are aiming to essentially double our player pool from last year. So we had 144 last year. I'd love to get us up to around 20 divisions, so like 240 players, if not more. But you can come and play with people like Eric or Jake or Stefania Bell, who's come out publicly in support and wants to go back for round 2. So we got some good people. It's so much fun. I'm having such a good time. And thank you for the shout out, Eric. Love the shirt.
Yeah, our editor-in-chief, Trash Sandwiches, is actually the defending champion of Rainbow Bowl. Yeah. So shout out to her. Also, shout out to our utility player here at IBT. You can find him on a couple various shows like Popcorn and Root Beer. That's our entertainment show with Steve, with Trash Sandwiches, and with Jake Perry. And he's also on the 19th hole regularly and right here on the IBT podcast. Jake, what's going on today, man? Thanks so much for linking up with us. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm living the dream. We get to talk about football. It's a nice switch from golf. Entertainment's later this week. So, you can't be a utility player if you don't just do everything all right. And that's just kind of my perpetual goal in life anyway, is just be okay.
Dude, jack of all, master of none, right? Like
exactly.
I truly believe that's me. Like, I don't have any exceptional skills, but like, I'm not too shitty at a couple things. You know what I mean? I can put together a couple things and get it done. But Jake, glad to have you here as well as with Eric and Steve. Also, shout to the IBT family who's tuning in with us as well. We greatly appreciate it. We're so close to hitting our goal of 1,500 subscribers ahead of the NFL draft. If you can help us get there, that would be sick AF. Also, please give this video a like if you enjoy this type of content. Also, subscribe if you're new. We got NFL, fantasy football, and betting content, college football. We got PGA, we got NASCAR, and we got some entertainment betting for you as well. Also, be sure to check out the website for more dope written content. And while you're there, please grab a ticket to Draft Night Out as well. That's our live fantasy football draft at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio this August. If you want to come draft with us and 200 of our closest fantasy football enthusiast friends, this is the event for you. We got a shot wheel spinning, giveaways going. We're going to have some songs to sing along to as well, and everything in between. Link is in the episode description. And I didn't want to say this publicly, but I think I'm going to have to. Jake, word on the street is Steve is not coming because he's got a little wedding to go to. So can we just publicly shame Steve for missing yet another draft night out 2 years in a row, Jake?
Yeah, let's get this wedding over with. We'll hop on StreamYard one night. I'm ordained. UniversalLifeChurch.com. Thank you very much. No shout outs, no free shout outs. But I can officiate it literally at any moment, and then you can come to the expo, which is way cooler.
Listen, I am trying my best to find a way out of this wedding and go to the expo. It just doesn't look like it's happening. It's really unfortunate that the timing, it just isn't lining up again. The world doesn't want me at the expo.
Eric, what do you do in this situation? You got a wedding, you got draft night out same day. Do you try to maybe do it, both in one day? Just catch a plane one right after the other? What's the play here? You got to play?
Yeah, there's a lot of plays. Look, if you feel like there are no solutions, that is what you will find, right? I am the guy that diverted my flight home from Disney so that I could go get a tattoo on the way back, right? So you can absolutely find a way to make this happen. But I think there's a paradoxical shift that needs to happen here. You're saying a way to get out of this wedding. You need to bring these people together. Wedding in Canton, reception at draft night out. Who says no? Who says no?
Listen, I might same day it. If it's an early enough wedding, I might same day it.
Well, all I'll say is that maybe find a flux capacitor. Maybe you can do both. Maybe go back and forth.
I believe in you.
Teleportation, it's out there. You can find it, my friend. Looks like we got our guy Ben hanging out with us. Ben, what's going on? Ben does a ton of great work for us over on the In Between Media website. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight yet again, Ben. And we got Albert tuning in as well, saying good evening, IBT. Good evening, Albert. Thanks for hanging out with us. And guys, what do you say? We got 32 picks to get to and not a lot of time to do it. So let's go ahead and jump in to our NFL mock draft with trades and Rave rookie reviews. All right, it's our NFL mock draft, our team consensus mock draft. We got some trades here in as well. I will say, I finally feel like I'm an asshole that I finally did the YouTube grab your attention, because I put huge trades in the description. I don't know if we have huge trades, Eric, so I kind of feel bad about that. But either way, start it off here at the 101, please. And am I an asshole? Can you describe that? Because I don't know if these are huge trades.
I will plead the fifth as to whether or not you personally are an asshole. I will disagree with your point that these are not huge trades. I would say any trade in the NFL draft, especially in the first round, is a seismic trade. You talk about the number of assets that are changing hands for a team to go from pick 12 to pick 8, right? It doesn't have to be the first overall pick going to Chicago and completely resetting the franchise timeline for the Carolina Panthers, for example, right? Like any trade that happens is incredible. And it's really cool to see in the modern era of the NFL just how willing to wheel and deal most front offices are, right? People will move up a few spots, move back a few spots. No one's precious about their position. It makes the draft night all the more fun. And the fun will start with the first overall pick for the Tennessee Titans. This one is, I think, currently -5 million to 1 to pay out, which is Cam Ward, the quarterback formerly of Miami, to suit up for the Tennessee Titans, a franchise that has been looking for the answer at the quarterback position seemingly forever. There are some whispers out there that, they are, circulating feelers or trying to gather feelers for people to move up to 101 overall. I don't think anybody wants to pay the price tag, so they're going to stay there. And they're going to bring in Ward, who, he has a lot of attributes that play very nicely in today's game. His arm elasticity is insane. He can make all of the throws from all the different arm angles. When he releases it, it's like a whip crack, and it just gets out of his hands so fast. Does enough with his legs, cool, calm, and collected under pressure. Just a nice reset at the quarterback position for a franchise that desperately needs it.
Absolutely. On that note that you said too about how much GMs today are like willing to wheel and deal a little bit, I got a text from a friend that in his law class, Kevin Colbert, former Steelers GM, was speaking with him yesterday, and I said it back to him in a text. I was like, ask him why he never traded. He actually did, and he gave this like long, thorough answer about why he used to like his guys in house. So just kind of a funny moment I wanted to share there. But Cam Ward off the board at the 101. Steve, you are on the clock with the Cleveland Browns at the 102. Where are the Browns going here? And Jimmy has them.
Yeah, the more this guy talks, the more it just feels like he's a Cleveland Brown. That's Travis Hunter, the cornerback / wide receiver out of Colorado, who has come out and publicly said he will never play football again if he's not allowed to play both sides of the ball. And doesn't that just sound like a Cleveland Brown? Now, the Cleveland Browns need a face. And they need a facelift, something fierce. They need a guy they can put on the posters, on the banners, on everything. Because right now, the face of their franchise is kind of still Deshaun Watson. I know people want to say it's Myles Garrett. Unfortunately, it's not. When you think of Cleveland, you think of Deshaun Watson. They got to fix that. So you take the guy who's kind of an anomaly, right? And you get potentially a very good cornerback and a serviceable, potentially good wide receiver, and you start to fix your franchise's very, very damaged image. I will be out in the land this week, so I will see if the vibes are high for Travis Hunter and see what is going on in terms of just like boots on the ground, I guess. I'm going to do some real live reporting next week from what I saw out in Cleveland.
Well, I mean, we've seen it in the betting odds. He is the clear favorite to go number 2 overall to the Browns. A couple weeks ago, you could have gotten maybe around 3-1 or so to go second overall to the Browns. Now, this is very, very heavily juiced, unbettable. So Travis Hunter, Steve going with the chalk there at the 102. And then let's go ahead. I'll shift to the 103. I'm going with the New York Giants to select Shedeur Sanders. I can't get them to move off this pick. Like, I get it. Joe Shane, Brian Dable, they're on the hot seat. And someone pointed this out on Twitter. I don't know who said it, so I apologize for not giving credit. But like, part of being a GM and a head coach is having a plan. Owner Jim Mara has attended Colorado games. He's attended practices. There are nearly 20 representatives at the Colorado Showcase. Like, you got to sell your fan base something. And Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, that's not selling your fan base. That's not a plan. Shedeur Sanders is a plan, like him or not. And I think what is very appealing here is that a lot of people will critique Shedeur's game that he almost hyper-targeted Travis Hunter down the stretch. But I think that's going to play really well because he has the elite accuracy, number 1 all-time in career passing completion percentage, 71.8% for his career in Boulder. And I think he's going to get the ball in the hands of Malik Neighbors regularly, just like how he did Travis Hunter in that Colorado offense. I get it's not an elite arm talent, but this is a kid who knows how to handle the spotlight. He's an accurate passer. He's been in the spotlight since he was a teenager. Give me Shedeur at number 3 to the Giants. Jake, over to you for the 104 and the Giants.
Yep. For the Patriots,
Sorry.
It boils down to simply when the best player in the draft is available for you at 104. It doesn't matter if you need the position that much or not. It's the Patriots. What don't they need besides quarterback? They need everything. Abdul Carter, edge, Penn State, in my opinion, the single best player in the class. Truthfully, the only player I would consider approaching generational status. As a prospect, I think there's nothing that Carter can't do on a football field, especially at a position that has become so prestigious and so high valued in the NFL. When you get a guy like him at 4, you just kind of have to take him. It's a no questions asked pick here for the Patriots.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you can get a high end edge and one like Abdul Carter that outside the little bit of an injury he's been dealing with now doesn't need surgery, not going to opt for that surgery. I think you have to go with it, right? And I think there are some questions that he wasn't a traditional edge prospect for a long time. He was more kind of that off-ball linebacker, a lot kind of like the Micah Parsons role. And he played, wears that number 11, so that's who people think of. And I think he'd be a great New England Patriots and really help rejuvenize this franchise under a guy Mike Vrabel. And Steve, you gotta love what you're seeing now, Mike Vrabel up there in New England. I don't know if you saw his first meeting with his team, but he's, no phones, being here on time. Like, this guy's holding this team accountable. I love what I'm seeing up there.
I'm glad someone is. I mean, listen.
Wow.
What's he asking for? Professionalism? I mean, it's just the same shit we heard with Belichick. It's the same shit we heard with Jihaad Maya. It's the same shit we've heard over and over and over again. Like, whether we saw it or not, like, oh, no phones in the weight room. No phones here. Don't do this. Show up on time. Do that. Like, yeah, great. And then great. Now we're getting another defensive player, and we're just going to let our stud young quarterback rot on the other side of the ball.
You got plenty of time.
No, you don't. That's the problem. People think you have time because they're like, oh, it's a 5-year contract. That's not the point. His development is now. Your window is now. You need to develop him or he's going to wither and die on that vine. And like, what... I can't with this, like,
hey, it's
defensive minded thing that the Patriots are doing. There's a reason we can't sign free agents. We can't get people to come here. It's the same shit over and over and over and over again. And it's exhausting to sit here and pretend like the Patriots have a plan when all it is rinse and repeat. It's just backwash from Belichick. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's antiquated. It's old.
You got pick 37 here in the next round. You'll be all right. We're not going 2 rounds, but keep your head up, man. Keep your head up. The good times are coming out there. I think you guys will get a nice receiver in the second round, but I'm going to throw it back to Eric here for the 105 and the Jacksonville Jaguars down in Duval.
Good times are rolling for them, specifically with regard to their rushing defense in 2025, because they are going to select Mason Graham, the absolute game wrecker on the interior out of Michigan. Look, that with a lot of these teams that are picking in the first part of the first round, they have a lot of holes and a lot of things that they need to address, but they were 24th in rushing yards allowed last year alone. And Mason Graham is exactly the type of player that they need to plug that hole. He's the type of player that opposing offenses have to account for. He is the force of gravity on that offense. Fantastic against the run, very good at creating pass pressure, specifically from the interior. So he's kind of a do-all player for this team in Duval, and he's by and large pretty much the lock to go here. He's one of the biggest favorites to be selected by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think the chalk continues to roll here, and we see them go with Mason Graham.
I know you hate it, Eric, but I'm gonna get down to West Virginia here this weekend to place some bets, and one of them is going to be on Mason Graham to be this pick. It's still going to be minus money. I'm going to play multiple units on it. I know you're not going to like it, but I'm going to do it because I think you're right here at the 105. The Jacksonville Jaguars need a run stuffer. Doesn't get any better than Mason Graham. And Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, connected more in the Miami area, but in the overall state of Florida. So I like him here to end up at the 105. Steve, sending it back to you at the 106. Do the Las Vegas Raiders do what the sportsbooks think they're going to do and select Ashton Jeanty at the 106?
I don't think they do. I think at this point, this is such a deep draft at the running back position that if they are smart, they will let Jeanty go because they're not a running back away. Good teams a running back makes a huge difference. Bad teams don't alter franchises. However, elite wide receivers alter franchises, and that's what they're going to get in Tet McMillan out of Arizona. The Raiders need an identity. They just traded for Geno Smith. They don't really have a number one receiver. They have Jacoby Myers, who's a good number two, but certainly not someone you want to be like your entire focal point of your passing attack. Getting a field stretcher who's big, strong, fast. This is the kind of guy that you can build a brand around. If you're the Raiders now, I think the Patriots should go with Tet McMillan. And I was hoping Shedeur Sanders would fall to me at the 106. However, he didn't. The Giants jumped us. So here we are, right? And if you're rolling with Geno Smith, you've given him the contract extension. You got to give him weapons. And it's an offensive league now. And Tet McMillan is right there, ripe for the taking. This is the perfect situation for the Raiders right here.
Yeah, Jacoby Myers is definitely not good enough to be a number one wide receiver. And while you do have Brock Bowers, who is your number one pass catching option, you still need someone better out there who can be a true X. And that's what Tet brings here at the 106. At the 107, the Jets are in a really tricky spot here because I think they could go a ton of different directions. However, I think after passing up on Brock Bowers last year to add Penn State offensive tackle Olu Fashanu, that they're going to get their tight end future and another Penn State guy, former Nittany Lion, Tyler Warren. If they get rid of Allen Lazard, all they have here for pass catchers is Garrett Wilson, who enters the final year of his rookie deal before the team likely ups his fifth-year option, Malachi Corley, and Josh Reynolds. Like, that's what we're looking at here. Tyler Conklin, he's also gone. So it's Jeremy Rucker out there at tight end. So I think Warren immediately slots in at tight end one. And how fun would it be for a run game to have Justin Fields, Breece Hall, and Tyler Warren in a backfield? Like, we're bringing back the triple option. We're getting crazy. We're doing tight end and halfback passes. Jets get an absolute weapon, and I get a case from a Busch Light Apple from Eric this summer. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, you're definitely going to cash that ticket with me. So while you're eating all this juice on your favorite bets when you go down to West Virginia, you've got one in the chamber, if nothing else, right? I don't think that he should be taken in the first 15 picks because I don't think that tight ends necessarily move the needle that much. And Brock Bowers doesn't come out every single year, but he's going to, right? The market is free and open, and it is spoken. I'd be surprised if he's there much longer than like pick 10 at latest.
All right, Jake Perry, the platypus, back to you at the 108. What you got?
Yeah, when great talent just keeps falling to me, it just makes these picks a lot easier. Will Campbell, I listed him as an offensive lineman. There's a lot of talk that he'll have to move inside to guard. I think you give him a shot at tackle, and if he sucks, you move him to guard. He's said already, he's got the mentality that every single offensive line coach wants. He says, hey, if I give up one sack a game, I'm working at Amazon. I'm not doing that. If you need me at guard, I'll play guard. I'd rather be a starter at guard than on the bench at tackle. But I mean, this is a dude, high motor, does not want to get beat, will do everything he can, makes the guys around him play up too. I think that's an underrated aspect of what Will Campbell can bring. The Panthers offensive line has a lot of potential. They have a lot of physical talent on the line. The mental talent has not always been there, and putting that together consistently. Campbell pulled a lot out of lesser guys at LSU, and I think you can do that at the next level as well. He gives, Bryce Young, yet another good protector, a chance to continue to ascend from what we saw in the second half of last year. Just a no-brainer pick here.
Yeah, I feel like Will Campbell's kind of getting the AQ Shipley treatment, a former center out of Penn State. Sorry, I keep going back to the lines, but like he was just like dogged coming into the process years and years ago because he had those short arms, right? That was kind of the thing with Will Campbell. And I don't know what particularly happened between the Senior Bowl and the Combine that his arms grew. I know there's a lot of different theories on how they measure these and that type of situation, but I do not think that Will Campbell can get past the 108. He is, there's always a lot of great tackles in every class, I feel like, but Will Campbell feels like a true difference maker. So I love the Panthers grabbing someone who can protect Bryce Young's blind side. So good pick there. Eric, you were on the clock here with the 109, and we do have the phone ringing right now. If you want to answer that call before you make this pick, you are able to.
Yeah, I am answering all calls, both in my fantasy leagues and in this hypothetical NFL draft. And if I am the New Orleans Saints, it is the Cincinnati Bengals on the other end of the phone. And I think that this is a match made in heaven, right? Some of this is under the pretense that I think we see Cincinnati move on from Hendrickson as we get closer to the draft itself or further into the offseason. And they are instead going to reset the clock, right? You can go get pressure for a much cheaper price tag by speculating in the rookie market. I think they do that by moving up to number 9, got them sending a 2025 third as well as their 2025 first and a future day 3 selection to get it done. And they're moving up to get Jalon Walker, the absolutely disruptive edge out of Georgia. Versatile player. They can use him in a lot of different ways, but he immediately plugs in to fill the hole left behind by Hendrickson and can completely wreck a quarterback's game plan on a play in and play out basis. 10.5 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks last year. High motor guy, just another force off of the edge and a way for the Bengals to address a defensive side of the ball that was near the laughing stock last year, right? Woeful to put it best. So I have them moving up to pick number 9, trading with the Saints and selecting Jalon Walker.
Yeah, Bengals need defense. It's the worst kept secret in this draft. So I don't hate this at all. This is one of those, like, I'm going to bet the Bengals also to take an edge. I know that was another one in minus money. I don't care. I will bet it. And I'm curious to see what the Saints do later on in this draft. But for now, they're moving out of the top 10. Bengals slide in. They get their edge of the future, start rebuilding there on that defensive side of the ball. Steve, heading to the Windy City with the 110. Where do the Bears go? They've spent a ton of money, ton of resources this offseason building through the trenches on the offensive side of the ball. Do they continue that here at the 110?
No, now that they've built the trenches, it's time to get the payoff, and it's time to bring in Michael Myers himself, Ashton Jeanty, the running back out of Boise State. This is the landing spot. There is no better landing spot than Chicago for Jeanty. This is a match made in heaven. They got the receivers. They got the young quarterback. They went and got the offensive line kind of situated. Now it's time to put it all together. Add that next weapon behind Caleb Williams. 3 down back, plenty of speed, physical freak. Probably the best running back we've seen come into the league since Saquon. I just don't see a reason why Jeanty would fall any further than 10. I think at this point, I've looked. This was probably my easiest pick, honestly. This or Travis Hunter. So yeah, Ashton Jeanty just makes too much sense. Like, sometimes it's better not to overthink.
When we've seen what Ben Johnson's done with a talented running back like Jahmyr Gibbs, right? So it would be really, really fun, not only for fantasy, but for betting and just from a fan perspective to watch Jeanty work in a Ben Johnson system that, they got Joe Thuney. They're finally starting to put the pieces together of a legit offensive line. That would be wild. And DeAndre Swift maybe on the move again here from a Ben Johnson called team potentially later in the draft. So if we're going 7 rounds, that might be something we'd factor in. I'm going to go to 11. I'm going to go out to the Bay Area with the San Francisco 49ers. And this is another team. 49ers could go a ton of ways here. They lost a ton on defense during free agency. But first and foremost, they have to protect their asset in Brock Purdy. Big Trent Williams, we love him. But this guy's 36 right now. And they lost backup Jalon Moore to the Chiefs in free agency as well. They could either start Membou at right tackle if they did go with Armand Membou, offensive tackle out of Missouri, or they could kick Colton McKiggets into play guard in the last year of his rookie deal as well. So a lot of pass rushers that they met with in this top 30 visit window. They were day 2 prospects. So I think they take the value here at tackle, and then they go edge in round 2. So Kyle Shanahan, old Johnny boy, getting it done out there in San Fran. I'm going to throw it out to Jake for the 112 down to the Lone Star State in Dallas. What do you got, Jake?
Yeah, much like you said with the Bay Area, with San Francisco, a lot of different routes that they could go here. I think they stick with a hometown guy, Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle out of Texas. Their offensive line is in shambles between retirements, injuries, lack of skill. They need some help there. They need help at a lot of places, but their biggest investment thus far is the investments they've made in CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. They need pieces to keep this offensive going if they want any hope of success here. And Banks is a guy, I personally have him as my offensive tackle too. I would have taken him personally over Membou, but I understand. So for here, again, I've lucked into no-brainer picks for me thus far, where it's just it makes too much sense, especially with the Texas connection there.
Yeah, I would love Dallas to go with a skill player because they could definitely use a legit tight end. They could definitely use another receiver. But at the same time, like I remember when doing my first mock draft of the season and looking at the Dallas roster and like, if we take the name out of this team, like it's like a bottom 5, bottom 7 roster in the league right now. So they need a ton. Kelvin Banks stays down there in Texas with his boys, the Cowboys. Eric, throwing it over to you for the 113. What do you have here, man?
Yeah, so this pick in particular that Jake just took off the board, Banks, really hit the Miami Dolphins right in the bread box. Right, they were a team that I've identified as a potential trade up candidate with New Orleans, but looking at it, felt pretty confident that one of Membou or Banks would be there for them, and they're not. And I think that we're at a tier break at the offensive tackle position. So I have them addressing a different spot, going to the defensive secondary, Will Johnson out of the University of Michigan. I got a lot of Wolverines names that I'm calling tonight. Just an absolute premier kind of prototypical perimeter corner, right? He's got that playmaking ability. He's got good size. He's got good instincts. He can absolutely develop into a shutdown corner. I see some stylistic overlap with how Christian Gonzalez looked coming into the NFL. And obviously that is a player that is doing a very good job of shutting down his side of the field week in and week out. So a lot of people think that Miami will be looking to shore up their offensive line, but based on where they are in this draft and where the tiers kind of fall off, I could see them going with the best player available at a different position of need, and cornerback is certainly one of them.
Yeah, I mean, with Jalen Ramsey wanting out, like it is going to be a position of need. Holland didn't work out there long term either, so I think Will Johnson, like let's not forget too, Eric, like this is a guy who at one point we were heralding as a top 5 pick, and then kind of just a really ugly end of the season. He had this injury, it was nagging him. He just never came back from it. I think he only played 6 or 7 games this past year. So Will Johnson there at the 113 for the Dolphins feels like a great value. Steve, I'm sending out your way. Let's go to the Midwest in Indianapolis. What do they do here, man? Because this is such a mixed bag of a team. They need leadership here. All the sportsbooks think they're going tight end, regardless of whether that's Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland. Do they pull the trigger on another weapon for Anthony Richardson or the backup quarterback there as well?
I don't think so. I don't think they do, because I don't think they buy either option of their quarterback. So I don't think they want to invest in that spot just yet. Like there are 2 ways you can go about a young quarterback, right? If you believe in them, you go all in. If you don't, and you think that you're probably going to have to move on at some point, or if you're in kind of a try it out phase with your quarterback, you build other places and then see what you got and you'll build it in later. So I think they're going to go with the linebacker position. Their defense was not great last season, and that's putting it pretty mildly. A lot of times you were just seeing them make boneheaded plays that should have gone for a couple yards, were going for 10 yards or 15 yards, and it was because of bad tackling and bad linebacker play, especially. I think Jihaad Campbell out of Alabama is going to shore up a position group that really, really needs it in Indianapolis, because I think we're going to see Indy change to more of a ground and pound team, ball control football, slow the clock down, use Anthony Richardson's legs, use Jonathan Taylor's legs, and you got to shore up your defense if you're going to play that style of offense. So that's where I think we're at, and I'm also in the camp of there is a tier break at the tackle position. So I was kind of out on that too.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, dude, if you had a linebacking room of Zaire Franklin and Campbell, I mean, my goodness. They also added a ton of help in that secondary. They got Travarius Warden. They got Cam Bynum. They already had Kenny Moore and Nick Cross, too. So, like, this all of a sudden, with those guys, you got DeForest Buckner up front. I think Kwity Paye still there as well. So, like, this is a good-looking unit out there in Indianapolis. So, I think this would be a really, really nice piece for them. I'm going to head down to Atlanta here. And after absolutely a ton of years neglecting pass rusher to the point where their top edges are Leonard Floyd on a 1-year deal, Arnie Abikete, who's maxed out at 6 sacks in his 3 seasons. Nice young player, but Atlanta goes defense with Marshall edge Mike Green. They could go a lot of ways here, and they have confirmed top 30 visits with Shamar Stewart, James Pierce Jr., so I think both those players are certainly in play here. But I think Mike Green's pre-draft process was exceptional. Layer that on to his production of 23 sacks last season, second in the country, being named Sun Belt Player of the Year. That's pretty hard to do being a defensive player. And this guy was absolutely wrecking this conference. Say what you want about these G5 players, man. This guy dominated it out there in Marshall, got them to that Sun Belt championship. I rode that wave. Marshall was someone I was betting on consistently. Give me some Mike Green, a little love for my West Virginia boy, Mike Green.
I will say, I've heard some not so great things from my industry sources about Mike Green. It's an off the football field concern, which is not uncommon to hear, especially early in the process. It hasn't lingered around much, but it may be something that just to keep in mind, that it wouldn't be shocking to me if once the actual NFL draft comes, if these rumors hold any weight whatsoever, to see him slip a little bit. But I still think it's a great pick.
Okay. No, very, very fair. And Jake, you're up here at the 116. What do the Arizona Cardinals do now that Big Mike Green's off the board, unfortunately?
No, well, even if he was on the board, they need wide receivers and they need them bad. They're going to reunite former Ohio State teammates Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka here. And they're just going to make this wide receiving core something special. What I like most about Egbuka, he's my wide receiver 1 to begin with. So getting him here for Arizona presents a great value overall. But when it comes to Egbuka and Marvin Harrison, they both have a lot of flexibility. They can both move around into the slot. They can play outside. You can get really creative. And these are 2 guys who already have shown that they can be productive in an offense together. When it comes to this team, their offensive line is not, it's fine. It's perpetually fine. You have Trey McBride as a great pass catcher. The running back room, you have a lot of upside in Trey Benson. You know what you're getting out of James Conner. If this team is missing anything, it's wide receiver. You can't run Greg Dortch out there every single week. As much as I love the guy, you just can't do it. So this is a perfect opportunity for them to shore up that offense, give Marv a second guy who can actually get open outside of Marv in the wide receiver room. And I think it just makes this offense potentially top 10.
Okay. So I think a lot of people on the internet are going to have questions about him going over Matthew Golden, who the sports books have started to love. But my question to you then, from a betting perspective, Jake, we just got some lines released just on the other day or so on Emeka Egbuka. You can get him from anywhere from like 29.5 over under to 28.5 if you want to attack it minus 140. It is heavy juice for the under. But at minus 140, under 28.5, that's kind of the best odds I'm seeing out there, or under 29.5, minus 150 from DraftKings. Would you hammer that?
Yeah, I don't think there's any chance he makes it to the 20s, period.
Really? Wow. Okay.
He is the type of wide receiver that NFL teams absolutely love because he can just go out there and play football and you don't have to teach him anything.
Great blocker, great teammate by all accounts as well. Like, if you want a guy who can dig his nose in and get down and dirty, like I thought before the Steelers made the move for DK Metcalf that he would be a perfect Steeler just because how good of a, much of a gritty player he is. But love the pick there with Emeka. And Eric, I'm throwing it right back to you at the 117. The Saints are back on the clock. They moved back. They've acquired some more capital. What do they do here with the first round pick that originally belonged to the Cincinnati Bengals at the 17th overall?
Part of the reason why I attested that all NFL draft day trades are huge trades are for this exact scenario, right? We're talking about New Orleans moving into 17 by trading with the Cincinnati Bengals. If that happened, could you imagine the haul that Pittsburgh is going to give Arizona to get back in front of New Orleans so they can't draft Jackson Dart? We didn't have that play out in this mock draft, so I have the Saints sticking here in their newly acquired 117 and taking Jackson Dart, a player that I think if they didn't move out of the 109, they're probably still drafting. A player that even if Shedeur Sanders is still on the board, I think they're still drafting Jackson Dart, right? Like, there are so many things about his style of play that fit very nicely into what Kellen Moore is trying to do. And I think that this front office and this ownership group is behind that idea. We just invested in this new coach. We are bought in on his system and what he's trying to accomplish. Let's go get him a guy that fits into that. Obviously, Dart has some blemishes in his game, but the things that he does well fit very nicely with what Moore is trying to do, right? A guy that can make one read and decide to either uncork it with not a huge arm, but a plus arm, right? A strong enough arm, or decide to tuck it and get what the defense gives him on the ground, right? A player that is very much so comfortable in the face of pressure, very good at stepping up in the pocket, stepping laterally, doing those little movements to avoid pressure, and a guy that's not afraid to unleash it, right? He led the FBS last year with 17 touchdowns of 20 plus yards, right? So a guy that I think a new head coach in Kellen Moore can do a lot with, and a pick that the Saints are going to be super happy with how this played out. They added more capital, they moved back a little bit, and they still got their guy when it's all said and done.
Deep ball maven, like that is a master class for success if he can link up with someone like Rashid Shaheed. Oh my goodness, that would be a lot of fun. So Eric, I love what you did here for the Saints. Very, very savvy general managing. Maybe even a more little savvy than I would actually think that Mickey Loomis could pull off, to be honest with you. So that's my one issue.
They move picks left and right. They love to mix it up with their draft capital.
They do, but they're the same guys that were rolling with Dennis Allen and Carmichael for how long. So
sure. Yeah, they're not without their flaws.
Yeah. Steve, I'm throwing it over to you here for the 118. We're going to Pacific Northwest, the Seattle Seahawks. We know how bad Sam Darnold is under pressure. This guy, he had a great season going, kind of had a seeing ghost type of game late in the season against the Detroit Lions. Then again, in the playoffs because he was under pressure. So surely the Seattle Seahawks, they're rebuilding that offensive line here at the 18th overall selection, right?
Nope, they're not. They should, but then the Arizona Cardinals jumped the gun and took Egbuka early and left Matthew Golden on the board. And when a wide receiver with this kind of speed is there and he has kind of this pedigree of being, a big play waiting to happen, and you just traded your wide receiver 1 to Pittsburgh, and you brought in a new quarterback, you don't have a deep threat, you got to go get one. And when he presents himself and falls on your lap like this, again, don't overthink it. There's plenty of time to rebuild the offensive line. You're not anywhere near contention right now. So you're not rushing. You're not handcuffed to Sam Darnold either. So you got to put the pieces in play. Matthew Golden fits what the Seahawks need. I know they need an offensive line, but they also need a field stretcher. Cooper Kupp ain't it. Jackson Smith-Njigba is not a deep threat. So who's going to do it? Marquez Valdes-Scantling? I don't think so. Matthew Golden's going to come in there, be the 1A to Njigba's 1, and that should be a pretty formidable wide receiving room.
Man, that'd be a dirty wide receiver room. That would be tight.
If they falls onto their lap like this, I just don't see how you pass it up. Especially in that division that's going to put up points. You're going to need to score a lot to kind of get yourself out of that division.
Can really, slide in super nicely that like Tyler Lockett flanker role. I think that would be a lot of fun. Have Cooper Kupp probably out there still playing the X, JSN man in the slot, and then when Kupp wants to come in and play the slot, send JSN to play it. We get that. I hope he has enough time to find these receivers. But my goodness, would that be that? Would
a lot of versatility in this room, and I think that's something that we're going to want to see out of like a new regime.
Yeah, plus K-Dub 3 and Charbonnet out of the backfield. That is a dirty team right there. I'm going to Tampa Bay with the 119, and it was pretty clear for everyone, including us fantasy football managers, that like the Bucs' biggest weakness last year was their leaky secondary. So we're going to fix that here. They finished with the 4th most passing yards allowed, 243.9 per game, tied for the most 10th most passing touchdowns per game as well, 1.6. So give me Georgia's Malachi Starks, the safety who can run the back end of this defense for years to come. Former 5-star recruit, plays downhill, very similar upside to me as like a Kyle Hamilton or a young Minkah Fitzpatrick. 2024 consensus All-American, finished top 5 in tackles in all 3 of his seasons in Athens on a super loaded Georgia Bulldogs team. So I like Malachi Starks going and shoring up this back end of this leaky Tampa Bay secondary. Jake, I'm throwing it over to you with the Denver Broncos at the 120. What do you got?
I got to go against what I believe. I think they should go Travion Henderson here personally. I think he fits Sean Payton's scheme better, but everybody and their grandma has a Marion Hampton going to the Denver Broncos. I get it. He is one of the top 3 running backs in this class. He fits what this offense needs in a lot of ways. He's not my favorite prospect in the world. I've made that very clear for months now, but when this many people are on the train, it's hard to put my favoritism of Travion Henderson ahead here. And again, just take what's fallen to me here. Denver needs a running back bad. They need a lot of things. People fight me on that one, but they do. But Hampton here seems to be pretty much the consensus across betting markets, mock drafts, everything.
Jake, if Hampton were to go to Denver, where would you rank him as far as like a dynasty super flex rookie draft? Would he crack your top 5? Would he go ahead of Shedeur? How would you kind of see his ranking shaking out?
I already have him top 5 and ahead of Shedeur. So
okay.
Pretty comfortable saying that yes, he would. He's my running back 2 in the class.
Okay. Eric, I'm throwing it over to you, man. We don't have our resident Yinzer with us tonight. Back-end producer Kyle Scott. He's out on assignment, heading down to Clemson here this week. But you're up. You're taking us out to that beautiful area down there by the river. What do the Steelers do? No Jackson Dart, no Shedeur Sanders. I don't know what's happened with Aaron Rodgers. He didn't make an appearance at Big Night Out either. So we're kind of a little bit fucked here. What's the play here at 121 for the Steelers? Do we shock the world? Do we get Jalen Milroe out of those stands and down on the stage hugging Mr. Goodell?
I think if we're fast forwarding the clock to the point where Pittsburgh is getting ready to submit their envelope and Aaron Rodgers is not yet a Pittsburgh Steeler, they very well could call Jalen Milroe's name. If we're in that universe, it's probably a circumstance where they've moved back a little bit, or they're maybe looking at another quarterback, maybe kid out of Louisville, for example. But nonetheless, I am of the mind that they are going to find a way to settle into an agreeable arrangement with Mr. Rodgers, and in turn, they are looking to address their defensive line. Really go out and get one of the most freakish athletes in this year's class and just a defensive weapon in Shamar Stewart, right? He's a bit of a head scratcher because he has all of the physical traits that you want out of a top 5 prospect, right? But for whatever reason, he kind of struggles to finish. I don't think that this is a 1-to-1 comp, but it reminds me of Will Anderson's rookie season as a Houston Texan, a player that got a lot of push and created a lot of pressure, but didn't convert a lot of those to sacks. That's really been the story of the career for Shamar Stewart. Only got 1.5 sacks last year, despite being all up in that backfield. But the thing that I like about him most is he's shown to be just as effective wreaking havoc off the line as he is with his hand in the dirt. He's a very, very effective run defender. And I just think circumstantially, right? You talk about coming into an environment with Alex Highsmith, with TJ Watt, the stability of a Mike Tomlin-led organization. These are the makings of a circumstance where they can continue to mold this player and really get the most out of him. So I don't know exactly how they would use him in week number 1. It's probably how they'll use him. It's probably different from how they'll use him in week 6, and probably different still from how they'd use him by season end. But, when you're sitting here as the Steelers that, have a big question mark at the quarterback position, you might as well go and shore up what has been your cornerstone, which is the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and the thing I kind of like about this pick too is the Steelers defense still absolutely loaded. Do not get it twisted. Like, this is still an elite defense. They need to figure out some things like, do they have a reliable nickel? I don't know. Is Darius Slay still good enough to be a number 2 cornerback? I don't know. But the one thing I like about this is because, like, they do have a need at defensive end. Yes, they have at outside linebacker, they have TJ Watt. On the other side, they have Alex Highsmith. They got Nick Herbig behind it. But at, like, true defensive end, which those edges are not all the time going to be blitzing the same side. They have Isaiah Loudermilk, 2021 5th-round pick. Like, the guy hasn't really done anything. He's been a locker room scout team guy for a long time. He's getting a shot. But I think adding someone like Shamar Stewart, while Steelers fans, us Yinzers might not love this, I like the play here, Eric. So good on you. Steve, throwing it over to you for the 122. Head us out to Los Angeles, and a couple of Jim Harbaugh's guys still on the board. Does he go Michigan proud here with some Wolverines?
He doesn't. He takes a rival and takes an offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Josh Simmons goes to the LA Chargers and shores up the line for Justin Herbert. It's not a sexy pick, but with Jim Harbaugh at the helm, it very rarely is. You know those trenches are going to be taken care of. It's hard. It's hard in these kinds of things for us fantasy football guys to be draft an offensive lineman for the LA Chargers when you so want to grab another weapon for Herbert or whatever, right? But like at the end of the day, this is a Jim Harbaugh team. I'm sorry. And that starts with the offensive line. It always has been. It always will. And it's just kind of grinded out kind of games. And that's what he's going to get out of this offensive tackle. He's big. He's strong. He does well in run blocking and pass protection. Like, does he have some stuff to work on? Absolutely. Most offensive linemen do coming out of college, but they're going to address a need across from Alt, I think, at this point.
Rashawn Slater's still a stud though, right? Like, I don't know like what they would do with Slater here, Eric. If this is like you bring in Mekhi Becton, you got him playing the right guard. He can also kick out to tackle here. Do you think it's more of like just Jim Howard, all the chess pieces here?
Yeah, by and large, right? We can say with Jim Harbaugh that he's got a type and he's got a philosophy that he's going to follow, which is invest in the trenches. And while it was a different position altogether, the same kind of holds true with what I was saying about Shamar Stewart, right? Like I can see them going with the best offensive lineman on the board and finding a way to utilize him in the most effective way possible, right? Whether it's kicking him outside, whether it's moving to the other side of the formation, whatever it might be. If they have a ton of talent on that offensive line, I have supreme confidence in his ability to find the best way to utilize it.
Okay. All right. I like you going with a little Ohio State love there from our Michigan friend Jim Harbaugh. And Josh Simmons, great story. Hopefully he can get back from that injury that he suffered last season with the Buckeyes. At the 123, Green Bay Packers, they're picking up the phone here. The board is falling their way. They're answering it. The call is from Brett Veach, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs. They're trading back 9 spots. The Chiefs are going to come up. They're going to sacrifice their later 3rd-round pick. Keep in mind the Chiefs, they still have another 3rd-round pick. They actually hold Tennessee's 66th overall pick from trading L'Jarius Sneed a couple seasons ago. So the Chiefs did just acquire Jalon Moore from the San Francisco 49ers off of free agency, but Jawan Taylor is still out there playing right tackle, guys, and that is a huge liability when you're trying to win a freaking Super Bowl. Josh Cornerly out of Oregon, he's the last 1st-round grade tackles, it seems, for most teams. So I think the Chiefs are doing what they can to move up, go get a guy to help protect Patrick Mahomes from the likes of Max Crosby, Khalil Mack, all these other elite pass rushers they'll see regularly. So Chiefs, they're trading up. They're getting Josh Cornerly out of Oregon, and I'm throwing it back to Jake. Jake, looks like we get another trade potentially happening here late in the round. What's happening?
Yeah, Kwesi is picking up the phone. He is completing his desire to trade 1st-round picks to every team in his own division. And the Bears see just an athletic freak in James Pierce Jr., who fits the mold of exactly what they need in an athletic freak on the defensive line. He fits the mold of what has really been kind of Chicago's go-to. If you look at the players that they've targeted, if you look at what Ryan Poles has gone for, doesn't matter the position, he wants athletes there. And James Pierce Jr. is a guy who I don't think should fall anywhere near this far to begin with. Like, he is a top 15 guy for me pretty comfortably. I don't know why he's fallen so heavily.
It's off the field issues is what I've heard.
Yeah, it's regardless. He's a dog. the Bears, they're going to send one of their second round picks in this coming draft and a future third round pick. And they're going to make this move. Both of these teams, both Minnesota and Chicago, have shown an absolute willingness to wheel and deal with picks, especially in the first round. Both of them have done it heavily. Kwesi did it in his first season as GM, made trades with both the Lions and the Packers in that draft. So, people will say they're division rivals. They won't trade. Kwesi doesn't care. He's completing his infinity gauntlet of the NFC North trades, and they're getting it done. And the Bears are getting their guy to go across from Montez Sweat and just absolutely wreak havoc on offensive lines.
I agree with you. I think James Pierce Jr., he could really have be in that conversation for edge 2, I think, in this class. And I think it has to be the off the field issues, because I did do some digging myself on that, Jake, because I was like, what is wrong with this guy? Because has a very productive few seasons, transfers around, still is very productive at Tennessee, and then once again has a great combine. So that was definitely a head scratcher here. Eric, heading to you with the 125, big flurry of trades off the board. What do the Texans do here at the 25th overall pick?
Yeah, third straight pick, we're going to have a trade get put in place, which is not all that uncommon. Maybe not 3 in consecutive order, but this is the part of the draft where we see a lot of movement, right? Teams going up or down 2 or 3 picks. These little fine motor movements that can make all the difference in the draft. I have the Texans wanting to move down. To your point about Josh Connerly, that was a tier break at the offensive tackle position. And I think that they have a few guys in the next tier that they would be interested in. And the team that is willing to dance with them is the Washington Commanders. I have them moving up a few picks, namely to get ahead of a few teams that I think are going to be in the edge market, and to bring in Donovan Ezeraku, the edge out of Boston College. This is probably a bit of a unique flag plant to me, but I look at the tape with Ezeraku, and he is absolutely a pass rush merchant, right? He is a specialist at this. He is a tactician that has a number of different moves that he can string together and just completely wreak havoc off of the edge. And you look at what this defense for the Commanders was lacking last year, and that was very much so a glaring hole, right? They could not get into opposing quarterbacks' face or lap, couldn't move them out of the pocket. And I think this is the type of player where he might not have as much depth to his game overall, but the thing that they need him to do, he does very, very well. He's bendy. He's a high motor guy. He's just always churning after it. Decent against the run, so he doesn't leave you exposed there. So I've got the Commanders moving up largely to get ahead of a couple of teams that I think will be shopping around at this position. And the Texans are happy to abide and address their offensive line a few picks later.
All right, 3 straight trades. Steve, we're going to Los Angeles with the Rams for this pick. What do they do? Do they find the heir apparent of Matthew Stafford in the first round?
They don't, because it doesn't exist, right? Not anymore. After Dart went, you can't reach like that. Not in the first round of the NFL draft. Not like that. So I think they go with tight end. Weirdly enough, a strange kind of situation for a Sean McVay player. But Colston Loveland out of Michigan, this is not your typical everyday tight end. This guy can block. He wants to block. And he's also a good receiver. He's a tough dude. He wants to play. He's athletic. He can stretch the field. He can be your intermediate guy. You lost Cooper Kupp. You need a possession guy that's going to help out Puka. Yeah, you have Devontae Adams now, and you're going to have Puka Nacua on the other side. Get in that middle of the field, a little more opened up, because people have to focus on your tight end now. Not a normally very lucrative position for McVay, but McVay's an offensive genius. He'll figure it out. He'll get weapons in there and he'll get them moving. I think there's a glaring need at tight end on this team, and I think Colston Loveland fits it perfectly.
I really like this pick. I haven't seen Colston Loveland fall this far in a lot of mocks. I also haven't seen him going to the Rams, but I think the fit would be fun, especially like you said, Steve. We don't see tight ends overly used in the Sean McVay system. Outside of that crazy stretch that Tyler Higbee had at the end of, I think that was like 2019. He went on a crazy run, but like that call there. For the Baltimore Ravens, I'm going to keep this one simple. Ravens nose tackle Travis Jones. He's pretty mid at best in the last year of his rookie contract as well. Jim Harbaugh gets Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. who was a major cog in his brother's national championship team. Grant, loved this player. I think, honestly, he is an athletic freak. Did get dinged a little bit, I think, in the process. He was listed at Michigan, 6'4", 360, weighed in about 30 pounds lighter than that. Still think he would be a perfect fit for the Ravens, though. They get another nitty-gritty guy out there on the East Coast. Jake, throwing it back to you for the Lions. What do they do here after losing two of their coordinators during the coaching cycle?
Yeah, I think I would not be surprised if the Lions end up trading out of this pick, just because they're a team that truly has that flexibility. I mean, we saw them deal with so many injuries that we couldn't name them all if we tried on the defense, and still be a relatively productive defense, all things considered. I think they do go with more of a depth play here if they stick and pick here. I'm going with Greg Zabel. He's listed as an offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. Pretty much consensus is, given his arm length being only 32 inches, that he's going to kick inside at the next level. But he's played 4 of the 5 offensive line positions. The only one he's never played is center. So he's great depth for them all over the line, where some of their players are getting up there in age. He also was the second most athletic offensive tackle, had the best production score amongst offensive tackles in the class. So you're getting a guy who just knows how to play football. He fits that kind of family environment that the Lions have hammered so heavily home. In fact, he stayed at North Dakota State and passed on huge NIL deals to play with his brother, who came in as a freshman in 2024. That's cool. So like, he fits just kind of the mold of this team so heavily. And they're a team that's not afraid to take a guy like Greg Zabel and say, all right, you're going to go play tight end for this set. All right, get in the backfield. Like, they'll get creative with him. And with his athleticism, I think he can handle it.
Okay. Love it. Eric, throwing it back to you here at the 129. The Washington Commanders or Houston Texans, back on the clock after making a move with the Washington Commanders. What do they do now that they've slid back? The tackles they liked are off the board. What does this entire company do?
Yeah, first and foremost, I need to take a bit of a side street here and shout out to my guy, Jake the Snake Perry. What a maddening experience it was to draft behind this man every single time. Anytime I had designs of who I believed would still be available when this team moved back, every single time he grabbed them, it was absolutely great pick with Zabel there. The Texans would have loved to have that pick because of the versatility that he brings and how much of a question mark they have on the whole of their offensive line. In absence of that, the second player I mentioned that I think they would be comfortable with is the aforementioned Tyler Booker. Just for my money, the most day one ready interior offensive lineman on the board this year, right? He can plug in immediately and contribute in run blocking. He is a reliable pass blocker as well. Good feet, right? He can absolutely hold up and provide a cleaner pocket, which was the Achilles heel of the Houston Texans last year. So we know definitively that they're going to address their offensive line very early in this year's draft. And when a player like Booker, who is ready off the shelf, falls to them after they acquire a couple of additional picks, they're going to feel pretty happy about putting that card in.
Yeah, I really like the draft we've seen from a couple of these teams so far that have traded back and still found value. Houston being one of them. Steve, going to you with the 30th overall pick. What do the Buffalo Bills do after being oh so close yet again to knocking off the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game?
They copy the Philadelphia Eagles and bolster their pass rush to get to Patrick Mahomes. And they go with Nick Scourton out of A&M. Listen, that Von Miller experiment didn't work. They're kind of like they got Russo, right? So you get him a partner off the other edge so that he can see maybe a little less double team in his time. You get him at Oliver Scourton. I like that coming at you. Listen, this deep in the first round, you're so close. And I think not being able to get to the quarterback is the Buffalo Bills' Achilles heel. I see them going edge rusher here. I think that's just a home run, very safe. It's not sexy.
Yeah.
But it's safe, and it makes sense.
Well, I think the fun argument for Scourton is like, you look at him and you look at Shamir Smart, is like, Scourton had the production, right? Like you're drafting him based off production while you're drafting his teammate purely off traits and what athleticism. So
a lot of vibes. A lot of vibes that you draft in
agreed with you there. So definitely like this pick for the Bills. It's time for them to stop relying on Von Miller and some of these older players and get some youth in there. At the 31st overall pick, another masterclass by Brian Gutekunst. He trades back 9 picks, still gets an elite cornerback prospect, Texas's Jahdae Barron, winner of the 2024 Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, going to the best defensive back in college football. Barron led the SEC in interceptions with 5, was 4th in passes defended as well. And what he lacks in size, he is just 5'11". He makes up in short area agility. So I really like Barron. I think him falling to 31 is crazy. Kind of reminds me of that value we saw a couple years ago with Joey Porter Jr. going to the top of the second to the Steelers. So with that, Jake, I'm throwing it back to you one more time. Close this out. What do the Philadelphia Eagles do here? Do they trade out? Does someone trade up to make the move for Jalen Milroe? Or is it a stick and pick for Howie Roseman and company?
I mean, Howie just gets an absolute masterclass somehow every single year. If Nick Emenwari falls to this point in the draft, I will say I think there's no way they let him fall this far. I think he's a smash top 20 pick. Mm-hmm. He's my safety 1. He's the most productive safety in college football. He's the most athletic safety in college football. If the NFL lets him fall to the Eagles, whose biggest team need is safety, and you can get a guy who came into the SEC as a freshman and impressed, had 2 pick sixes last year on just 3 interceptions, multiple pass deflections. Yeah, he's not the best guy in run support. Guess what? He doesn't need to be. Have you seen the rest of the Eagles team? Let that man drift up there, play the ball, have some fun. Nick Emenwari is a top 20 pick. He's minus 1,500 on FanDuel to go in the first round. So there was just zero way I could let him fall any farther. But again, if you let him fall to the Eagles, the rest of the NFL has failed entirely.
Yeah, my God. I mean, there are no holes then, right? Like there are no holes on that team that you can really poke at. So this feels like, you know, how, like you say, like some teams have luxury picks. Like it feels like it's a luxury draft for the Eagles, right? Like you don't need anything. Like this is all just gravy, baby. This is all just gravy. So yeah, shout out to Howie once again. Jake, Steve, Eric, thank you guys so much for being here, sharing your NFL draft analysis. This was a really fun exercise for us to do. Hopefully the viewers enjoyed it as well. That is going to do it for us tonight on the IBT podcast. If you've rode with us this long, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the whole damn channel while you're here. We've got NFL betting, college football betting, NASCAR betting, PGA betting, and some entertainment betting for you as well, all to help you cash more. Enjoy the ride along the way. Please be sure to check out inbetweenmedia.com for some written content and upcoming live events, including 2025 Draft Night Out for Eric Romoff and Steve Lawson, and of course Jake Perry as well. I'm Seth Wilcock. Thanks for watching, and keep it in between until next time.